I got the old headset out, wired in, over 45,000 completed cold calls on this headset. So it's 5 a.m. Start of February. No matter how hard or difficult things can be in your life right now, just know that you'll make it through and you can go absolutely anywhere you want in life. When things start to get challenging for me, I think back to the accomplishments I've had in my life. Graduating from college with a 3.5 GPA. I did terrible my freshman year, but was able to overcome. Finished a marathon, despite my legs feeling like they were gonna dislocate from my body. Think back to what you've overcome, what you've accomplished in your life, and use that force, use that energy, use that belief in yourself to push and navigate you through whatever challenging obstacles you may be facing right now. Watch until the end to talk live cold call scripts. Long story how we got to this point, that will come out another day, but we're finishing the recording of this video back at my house. We're gonna make it special for you guys. I got the old headset out, the Playtronics Blackwire. This was issued to me one of the first days of my employment, wired in, making cold calls, over 45,000 completed cold calls on this headset. The magic is gonna rub off you on this video here today. I'm gonna share with you my live cold call script that is battle tested, that absolutely works, and is flexible for the type of sales you do. I think it works for all B2B sales, and I'll explain that in today's video. The first thing with cold calling, the reason why I like it so much is number one, it's the most direct method of communication there is when you're speaking with someone live on a conversation. On an email, people like to deal with emails, they like to read it, they like to have the explanation. But it can be finicky, they haven't spoken with you, and it's just a name on a screen. Social selling, the same thing. Any sort of marketing is the same thing as well. A cold call is speaking with another person, just like we're talking right now, one-on-one, and it's really effective because they get to know you, and it starts to build the relationships that you can hopefully make the sell. When we're getting into the cold call, I find them to be incredibly therapeutic. That's why I make between 30 to 50 cold calls per day as an account executive. But if you're an SDR, BDR, sales development, or business development representative, you should be making at least 100 cold calls a day minimum in order to exceed your pipeline numbers. And just note that in my role, I find all of my own prospects. We use a variety of tools, find my own prospects, add them to my sequences. I write the emails. I have the calls built in. And when I'm making the calls, something you really got to keep in mind is how you present your message is in many ways more important than what you're saying. We're going to talk about the cold call script that is universally applicable that you can apply in your job today. And keep in mind, this is updated for 2022. But what you're saying is more important than how you're saying it. What I mean is tone, pitch, inflection, and your pace are all really important. Whenever you take pauses or whenever you take inflections up or down, that will play into your ability to set meetings. Look, here's the exact script you can use on your calls today. It's a flexible approach, meaning depending on your buyer persona, you may want to change it up a bit. If it's a C-level contact or if it's a director or if they've spoken with your company in the past or if it's maybe a cross-sell, you can use this template to add in those pseudo customizations as needed. I start every call by asking, hey, this is Trent from insert company name. How are you? And then I pause. A lot of sales gurus will say that this is the worst thing you can do. Some of you are probably watching with your blood boiling saying, no, you're spammy. That's never going to work. It's going to turn people off. The reason I ask, how are you, is because I want to humanize it by asking, how are you? And that will give me a very quick tell how they are doing, in the sense that if they say, hey, I'm doing well, how are you? And if they ask, how are you back to me, I know I'm in, and I know they're going to inherently hear me out, opposed to if they say, I'm fine, or how can I help you? When they get into that then triggers something in my mind. Okay, I got to get right into it, right in the talk track. So the how are you is an upfront tell to give you a look into their mood, and that will help dictate what you say next. And that's why it's a flexible approach and why I think it's so impactful. A lot of sales gurus will say, hey, this is a cold call. Do you mind if I tell you why I called? Or hey, do you have 27 seconds? Or maybe going right into a value prop. Any of those could work. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to cold calling, and that's why it's such a beautiful art. As soon as I say, hey, this is Trent from insert company name, how are you? They'll respond back accordingly. Let's say they just say back, okay, I'm doing fine. What's up? I say, perfect. The reason I'm calling you today, insert prospect name, is that I'm following up on a recent email I had sent you. Does the name, insert my company name, ring a bell? And to preface this, anytime I call a prospect, I will have sent them an email the previous day or a couple days previously. So it's really important if you're using this in your strategy to actually send them emails and send them emails you want them to see. I say, does the name, insert my company name, ring a bell? And if they say yes, that's great. I want them to say yes. And I'm not going to say, oh, like, tell me about your familiarity, or like, what do you know about us? I want them to say yes, because if I can get them to yes, if I get them saying one yes early on the phone, that's going to improve my chance of setting the meeting. But let's say the prospect responds back and says, no, I've never seen your email. I say, okay, perfect. The reason I'm calling you specifically, insert prospect's name, is I noticed that you oversee the HR vision and strategy at insert company name. Is XYZ initiative, is XY initiative a priority for you or the team this year in 2022? What I'm doing here is I'm calling HR buyer personas. You may be calling sales leader buyer personas. You may be calling IT leader buyer personas. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say, look, I speak your language, and I'm trying to say a generic question that I know that they'll say yes to. They'll have to say, of course, that's a priority. And for me, it would be, for example, reducing employee attrition, employee feedback, employee engagement. Are any of these a priority for you or the team this year in 2022? And they're most likely going to say, yes, of course it is. And I'm going to say, okay, great. Well, my company, insert XYZ company name, helps customers to drive XYZ business outcomes. It sounds like this is important for you and the team this year. I'd love the opportunity to set up a brief introductory conversation to further discuss what's top of mind for you. Allow me to share relevant trends. What is your availability on Thursday afternoon? Can we get the call set up? Pause. I'm making the ask. What I want to do is quickly understand if what I'm trying to sell is somewhat in the wheelhouse of what they care about. And if so, I'm saying perfect. I'm inserting a value statement just enough to get them intrigued to say, okay, I'll take a meeting, I'll hear this guy out. Keep in mind, guys, you are selling time on a cold call. You're not trying to sell the entire company. You're not trying to get them to sign a contract. You are trying to sell time. So give them just enough to intrigue them to want to take another meeting and then get off as quick as possible. If you can do a little discovery along the way, that's helpful. But most likely at some point throughout that call, you're going to be met with an objection, such as, I'm using a competitor, I have no budget, hey, now's not a good time, call me back in 6 months. We have videos on this channel talking about how to overcome objections that you can go and check out. But ultimately, that is my talk track. It's very straightforward. It's very to the point. Ideally, in 2 to 4 minutes, I'm setting the meeting, I'm making the ask. And that talk track is configurable based on what you may be looking to do or what information you may be looking to share. But the whole premise is saying the reason I'm calling you is because psychologically people want to know who you are, why are you calling in the first 5 seconds. You have to give them that, and that will give you the permission to go into your pitch. Believe me, I've done it a lot of times and it works most of the time. But keep in mind, a lot of the time you're going to get told no. A great set rate, meaning of the live conversations you have, will be about 15%. So 15 out of 100 people you talk to will take your meeting. So the odds are stacked against you regardless, but this talk track will turn the odds in your favor. I'd love to hear about it. So make sure to subscribe to this channel for more sales videos. Connect with me on LinkedIn to join networks. Also feel free to DM me on there. I'd love to hear about your success as this talk track helps you. Like the video if you got value today. Connect with me on TikTok as well. I'd really appreciate it. Have a great rest of the night. Bye.